Ladies, welcome to another episode of the podcast She Who Rises Up, a space where two women devoted to love, beauty, and the great mystery of life share their insights, raw truth, and lived wisdom. Join us, please come and join us as we walk this path together and as we unpack today's conversation, which is what is spirituality? Gemma, hello, how are you?
Hi, Lara. Hello. Hello, everyone.
So, how is life, by the way?
Live is okay?
All good?
Live is okay?
Anything to report?
Wow, I wouldn't know where to start. Changing every minute, like as usual. So right now it's just okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. That's not bad, no?
Yeah,
Could be worse.
yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. So, um, we decided that, right? We decided
Mm-hmm.
that we want to talk about about the concept of spirituality.
Mm.
So, what was your first reaction when I mentioned, "Hey, Gemma, shall we talk about spirituality?"
That was funny because I thought, eh? Spirituality, but haven't we spoken about that so many times? Okay. But then I started thinking about it and I thought, I don't really know what spirituality is. What? That's my life. That's what my life goes around all the time, spirituality. And I wouldn't even know how to start describing it. So I come here with no really clear definition of what spirituality is. I'm eager to see what comes up from you and me to know what it is actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How are you? How did you come up with the concept or the
But
idea?
I have no idea. No idea, because I was thinking, okay, I mean, I was thinking about what to focus on for today, if we should go down the route of questions like we've done before, or what, or just have an insight, share the insights that we've had lately. And then that's how I came up with that idea. And at the beginning, I'm like, okay, so maybe this is something quote unquote basic to talk about. But then the moment I sat down and I wanted to jot down some ideas, things started to become more complicated.
Yeah,
So
same as me. I just can't believe that. And then I decided to, okay, I wouldn't even know where to start. So I'm going to start by describing what is not spirituality.
I
In
really
the
would you
how
just interesting. But I have a question for you though, first. I have a question. And the question is when did your quote unquote, and then we could unpack what spirituality is or is not. When when did your spiritual life begun for you?
Wow. Well, if I have to recall on a normal life, on the 3D plane, to call it somehow, that would have been on 2008 when I was living in London and I started joining groups and stuff like that. No, even before that, because I had been into personal development when I was at work. That led to spirituality around probably 2006. Around that's when I did my first Reiki course at that point. So yeah, that was my first entrance. I remember the lady who was giving the a course that I was doing on reflexology started talking about energy. What was that? About chakras. Your chakras. What's that? And that put the first seeds into that, or what we know today. That's this new age. So yeah, that was around that 2005, six.
Mm,
Of what
interesting.
of what is known as spirituality, but I don't know. I think I was in spirituality all my life
Mm,
at the same time.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. The same here. I've been always since always. In fact, I may have shared that before that I remember creating altars at the age of 8 or 9 for Mother Mary back in the days, in fact. And I still remember my favorite esoteric book um, around that time. And I was always fascinated by stars and astronomy. And I was
Mhm.
taking notes, thinking that one day I'll write a book about astronomy because I was so fascinated by all the knowledge that I was acquiring around the stars and everything else. And in fact, I was now that I remember, I had my first monastic a silent retreat at the age of 17. That was so interesting, very interesting, very interesting. Yeah, and my curiosity about the big questions of life led me then to join a cult, when I was 20, and which there is an episode of the podcast here. If you want to check that out, very, very interesting, where I interview a lady who was part of a tantric cult, as well as me sharing my own experience. And then after coming out of that experience, I decided to show the middle finger to anything and everything slightly esoteric or mystical, until my 30s, when yeah, it was in my, do you know, now that I remember, in my 30s, I used to be referred a lot as, oh, you're so spiritual.
Wow.
Because, yeah, but I'm like, oh, yeah, I am. But I guess because they were more referring to, I've always had this advanced wisdom for my age. I think it had something to do with that. But then 7 years ago, that is when really shit hit the fan. And I don't know, it's called, some people call it dark night of the soul. I don't know, maybe it's that, maybe it's not. And it's been fucking nonstop ever since, as if I had to catch up for all these lost years. It's been insane. It's been insane.
High speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I was little, probably was 4 years old, and I didn't even know how to read or write back then at that age. But I knew, and nobody had told me that. I knew that I came here to be part of the union of spirituality, of science and religion. I called it religion because I didn't know what spirituality was. I didn't even know the word spirituality. Later on, I realized it was spirituality. Now I know that that's exactly what was happening nowadays. The union of science and spirituality is just the same. They have the same root.
Mm.
So I knew I came here to witness that and be part of it. So I still don't know what I'm doing towards that, but
Yeah. Exactly. So then I have another question, and the other question is like, I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question, or maybe later, but since we've opened this space now, let me ask it, and let's decide if this is the right time. How does being spiritual, quote unquote spiritual or mystical, right, which I believe that there is a distinction between both concepts, how has it helped your life?
Oh, the first answer that came into my head was, I'm not sure if it's helped my life or it was a detriment actually to it. And I'm going to explain why I say that. When I entered the spiritual world, what I really entered was the New Age world, which is another a substitute for the religion where I came from. Obviously, it opened my eyes to what religion really was, and then I got into New Age, which is all love and light and all is well, and all that, and positivism, and that's it. But don't talk to me about darkness.
And you were
So
quite in the middle. I mean, in the midst of it, you were in the Glastonburys of the world, right? Which is like right in the thick of it as well, right?
yeah. So obviously, I've always believed that it's helped me and it was part of my life. But now, when I don't even know how to describe what spirituality really is, I can see also that obviously it helped my life because it gave me so many things, something I was always seeking, I was always looking, and it filled my life with something different from the normal world that I lived in, and I wanted to escape from. And obviously it took me to where I am today. So everything that I have done, I'm grateful for. And I wouldn't change it because it was my experience. But today, what I also see is the dark side of what I went through, because so many concepts have been in my head about New Age, things that are not really true, that now is difficult to remove them. It's like another layer of I don't know, of information have been put into my head, obviously by myself.
Conditioning.
Yeah, conditioning, that's it. So programming about this new age that I have to get rid of now, as well as all the other stuff. So grateful, obviously, for the experience, because it took me to where I am today. There was nothing else back then, 20 odd years ago. But it has had the good things and also the bad stuff that I'm encountering today, that I have to work on and remove all these. Oh, spirituality is all love and harmony and beauty, and it's not. It's hardcore going into the darkness and embrace that too. That wasn't back then into my day, or at least I didn't want to see it if it was there.
Exactly. I remember many years ago when you supported me in something I was going through. Or was it during the pandemic? I don't remember right now, but that is when we started discussing the figure of Archangel Michael and his sword, right? That what is it? Because I'm like, these are angels, archangels. How is sword is like what is that? What is the symbology? Why would an archangel, this being light, would have a sword? And that was a whole thing to unpack, or of its own, right? Which is,
Yeah.
to my understanding right now, is like I don't have to take any shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I used to be very scared of figures like Kali, for example, that woman with so many uh, arms and the head of a man on the hand. And I thought, what's this? These Indians, they're crazy. Who is this woman? Today I see her and I thought, that's my woman, that's my girl. While years before, I would have been with, no, I don't know, other more benevolent, brackets, figures of light.
Yeah. 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 Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so shall we talk about what is spirituality then?
Well, I have no idea. I have no idea. I got to the conclusion by looking at what is not spirituality, that everything is spiritual, because spirit is everywhere. Coming from the new age where everything is love and light, now I believe from a more scientific point of view that I was talking before, uniting spirituality and science, everything is consciousness and vibration. It's all energy. That's it. Even if I'm sitting on a chair right now, but that chair really doesn't exist. It's all empty, and that's science. And that's spirit. Spirit is the energy that not only creates that but goes through all that. So everything is spiritual, and that's what I think that's the damage. One of the damage that New Age did. That spiritual was some things, and other things were not spiritual. And you have to be on a cloud of niceness all the time, while really being in the world, in this body, experiencing life, whether good or the bad. It's more spiritual than just sitting on a Buddha tree meditating all day, which is also spiritual, but without excluding everything else.
So I'm burning some Palo Santo now. Am I spiritual enough?
Those are the lovely things about spirituality. I love Palo Santo and I love candles and I love
Hey,
incense.
but we figured out today that some of the ones that we were burning were fake ones anyways.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah.
Even in the Palo Santo, there is fakeness.
Even the Palo Santo is faked.
What
What
else?
about you? What conclusions did you get about?
Yes. Yeah. It challenged me, It challenged me when, because I wanted to come prepared here a little bit. So I sat down with it yesterday. I'm like, okay, what is spirituality? What is spirituality? What is it? What is it? What is it? And you know what? Who came to mind first is a beautiful lady called Rebecca Campbell, and she talks about that intelligence that allows the flowers to bloom and the tree to shed. So I'm like, I'm talking about that intelligence, right? I've personally had so many experiences, both in an altered state of consciousness and a normal state of consciousness, so sober, to know that there is something, for me, is no denial. This is not about, I have no doubt about that. This is not about I believe that this might be, or I think this might be, for me, is I know there is something, right? For me, is a very deep inner knowing that what I've lived, what I experienced, what I've seen, it's undeniable to my eyes. And so for me to be spiritual means to intentionally engage with spirit in your day to day, not only when you remember or when you need to, or when I'm performing a certain activity. It's it's in everything, and literally everything, as you've mentioned yourself, right? In the way that you're making a cup of tea, watering your plants, or dealing with an ass, So yeah, is that trust, uh that huge trust in something much bigger than yourself. And then there's so many questions that come from that, like, am I part of that or am I not? So I'll come back to that in a second. So to my current level of understanding and knowing, it's the curiosity and the depth of the relationship and respect that I have for myself, for others, and by others I mean human and all aspects of nature, in the animal kingdom, plant kingdom, all, everything to do with nature, with stones, with everything, and also with life. And life, then I take it outside of this realm. So I also see it as an opportunity to come back to myself, and close my eyes. And when I close my eyes, that is when I navigate those realms. That's I feel and I know that it is when I close my eyes that I see better, that I understand better, and that I hear better. It's also for me about the empowered conversations that I have with that intelligence. So it's not about coming from a needy place or a disempowered victim place, but quite the opposite. From that powerful state, there are some words that also are coming to mind when I think of spirituality. Words such as trust, questions, evolution, intelligence, playfulness, nature, listening to the body, mystery, allowing. It's everything and nothing. It's this and this rather than this or this. It could be or it might not be. um yeah, it's and I love this philosophy. I don't know if it was Ram Dass who said it, or I don't remember, that we walk in each other home. We are all walking each other home. And I find that to be very compassionate, and something that I resonate with, because I find sometimes that there's certain concepts that sound very grandiose and very big and very flamboyant, but they're not intellectually we might understand them, but they're not practical. So I find that philosophy to be quite practical and very compassionate. Do I believe that crystals, talismans, and shamanic waters and cards make me spiritual? No freaking way. No way. In fact, there's a lot of darkness as well related to that. And do I use them? Yes, of course I do. I do use them because I use them as tools to ease my human experience, not as bandages, right? Or ways to bypass my humanness. But I see them as a collaborators. I did have to pass and go through different portals, like the dressing all white or red and dancing naked around a fire. I've done that,
Tick.
and I've done all the ticking, I was a priestess in another lifetime kind of thing as well, and I was murdered. So we've done all that. And they're all portals that I had to go through, and they're fine. I do honor myself for going through all of them, see what I had to see. And and that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. There was something else I wanted to share. Let me see if it comes back to mind. Yeah, I remember one time in a sacred ceremony with ayahuasca. It must have been my last one or one of the last few ones. that I asked the medicine, oh, show me my galactic origin. I may have told you this story before. Show me who am I? Because my ego wanted to be better than you. I'm better. I'm bigger than you, right? So I needed to know that I am more than a human. And the message I received was no. We're not going to tell you. We're not going to tell you because that's going to distract you from your own humanity. And I remember coming out like, what kind of shit is this? I'm only a human.
Only human. That's
I'm
what the ego would
human.
say, right?
Is that it? Oh my God, how big is that? How big is that? And this is when I love the song that says, it's in Spanish. The translation is, to reach God, one must learn to be human first. Right. So, and I love that. So it's not about bypassing or ghosting my own humanness. But yes, it's wow, it's embracing everything. And that helped me to be more grounded and more mature in my own mystical life. Because for me, there is a difference between a mystical life and spiritual life. So yeah.
That's lovely, and I'm glad you brought the concept of the ego, because I thinking about it, I thought, well, the ego is there. We all know what it is, right? It's that mind. We have this mind that help us go through the day. Okay, I have to record my podcast. I need my pen, and I need my microphone. I need my computer. That mind that organizes your day, and that's fine. But then there is another mind that he has a constant bloody blah telling you about your life, telling you about how you are, how you know, why you should be doing this, why you should be not doing that. And then when you get into the spiritual world, the ego becomes spiritualized. And then now I'm spiritual, hang on, but I'm better than, because I'm spiritual. I've been there, I've done that. Then you realize that, but you still into the spiritual ego, because you differentiate from the people who are not spiritual. So you're always in a duality of separation between the spiritual world and the non-spiritual world. And then that's what I meant, what the new age, the damage that is done, because it's promoted that separation between the spiritual and the non-spiritual, where everything is spiritual. So instead of talking about spirituality, I've just realized, talking to you, that I prefer to talk about whether someone is awakened to the fact that the ego is there, and the ego is the only thing preventing you from being your true self, you truly awakened, your true spiritual self. There's no other way of spirituality. Everything else is, everything that is not working with that duality, or non-duality rather, it's a lie, and it's taking you away from the true concept of spirituality, which is actually returning back to your being, which is there, and it's not gone anywhere. Is what we were born being that spark of God, or spark of consciousness, that bit of divinity. But then we start creating the ego to protect us, engage, quote unquote, and then we develop this personality called ego that the being, the divine spark, identifies with. And then we start living a life that is not real from that ego persona. So removing that ego, which is built from all the wounds and programming and beliefs that we've put into it, is all we have to do to return back to ourselves. And that is the true sense of spirituality, if we want to call it spirituality, to awaken to the fact that we are not that personality we've created, that we've always been God, or the spark of God, and we'll always be that. Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Because again, when we talk about ego, we're not referring to that part of self that is helping us navigate our human experience, right?
Exactly.
We're not talking about that side that says, "Hey, my name is," or "I don't like this," or "I'm going that way," or "I'm hungry," right?
Yeah, we need that to be in this world, right? To navigate this world. We need
Exactly.
that side.
And a lot of people, because I've had this conversation with you many times, and also with the ladies I've been supporting throughout these years, is that many times people will refer to, oh, he's got such a big ego, she's got such a big ego. What they've seen actually is more of a traumatic response rather than than anything, in a very exaggerated way. So yes, when we all have those egos, right? And I have caught myself so many times, and I know exactly when I'm doing something from that egoic state. And sometimes I still went with it, and sometimes I'm like, oh, come on, Lara, you know better than this. Come on, don't go that way, right? So and that is also part of the embracing of the whole you. And I know that both of you, you and I meant, both of us have done tons of work to meet those really darkest, ugliest, most disturbing aspects of self, that the spheres of the love and light, or the spheres of new age. Well, I don't know if I've ever been as much in that new age. Maybe I've dipped my toes, but I haven't been like deep in it. Like, for example, more yourself. And thank to my cult experience, I have to say, that really opened up my eyes quite a lot, and I was able to see the darkness pretty quickly. Yeah, I remember one time, was it a couple of years ago, I think, when I went to Glastonbury, and I was very excited. Oh my God, Glasgow, you know, it's like, whoa. And you didn't say anything. Is that you were like, okay, you go there and have your own experience, you know? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Glasgow. And oh my God, with Glasgow is quite a theatrical stage, you know, where the light is very light and the dark is very dark, you know. And I remember I was very excited. Oh, there is something called the Goddess Temple. Oh, let's go. Of course, I'm going to go to the Goddess Temple. Of course. I stayed there for 5 minutes. I'm like, I can't fucking stand this. You know, oof, I felt there was, this is not beautiful. No. And I left. And this is when I realized that sometimes we have to go through those portals ourselves, right? To realize what's good for us, what's not good for us. This is not about, by the way, demonizing anything. It's about we're sharing our experiences here. So and if it serves, fine, and if not, then it's fine too, you know. So it's not like we're attached to anything, or we're not wanting to preach, but sharing how it was for us, right? And what's yet to come, and what's yet to.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very grateful for my experience, even though I was totally immersed in the new age. I met wonderful people, and that's what my soul had to experience anyway, even if I was in the spiritual ego. But that's still consciousness, even though it's the ego, and that's what it wanted to experience, so that I can now see from outside what it is and what is not, and find something that is probably more, or whatever it is that I'm finding now. But you were talking earlier as well about those deep states of mystical experiences that you have, and that's probably the true connection. And when the mind, this ego mind that we're talking about, is not present when you are in those states, it's just completely gone. But then we come out of those spaces and we want to put into words what happened. Oh, because had this experience and I was in this, that's it. That's the ego taking the experience for itself and putting into words. As soon as you start doing that, the experience is gone and you've disconnected, because true spirituality or true consciousness cannot be put really into words. It's something you have to experience. It's something you have to be. And obviously you want to express it so that you can tell it to other people. And sometimes you can, but most of the time the mind will go in there and distort it, and it can never be as real as what you have experienced, because it's your experience. Exactly. So that's what I think. Spirituality is so personal and so intimate that only you know what it is.
And it's very interesting as well that at this stage, both of us have chosen not to give ourselves the label of spiritual teachers or anything like that, right? So it's not like we are practicing or preaching or teaching or guiding or sharing spiritual concepts. I mean, I personally, when I had a plant ceremony almost 3 years ago now, that literally all those concepts that I believed in, I think I've shared it before, literally went out of the window. I'm like, fucking hell. I was like, I thought I knew this. It's like, whoa, it's like, what's going on here? It really, there was such a deep mystical experience that really has it put my life upside down. And I'm like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I thought I knew because, all these years and all these experiences. I don't know anything.
Mm.
Right? In comparison to, So, wow. I
Yeah,
think,
that's
mm,
what I'm experiencing right now as well, and that's why when you proposed to talk about spirituality, I thought, I don't have anything to say. I have no idea even what spirituality is. What am I going to say? Because you start unlearning what you've learned and be open to whatever comes from other realms rather than repeating what other people have said before.
mhm.
And yeah, I find myself in the same place of I have no idea about anything, and that
Yeah.
is a really good place to be, really.
Yes, because that's the paradox as well, right? Would be able to hold the paradox of what seems two opposing things,
Hmm.
but they can coexist perfectly fine together. So yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
is that true spirituality or whatever you call it, or those states of mystic depth take you to unlearn what you've already learned and let go of all beliefs and programming and everything, because everything really have been made up. We talked about that on the previous episode. That was a very funny one. Everything is made up, absolutely everything. It's not good or bad. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying that everything is made up by the human mind. But if there is something, whatever it is, that takes you closer to that connection with your true self, then that's fine, whatever it is.
Mm,
If not, then it's not. That's
mm.
it. But everyone is here to experience whatever they have to experience. So who am I to judge anything? But
Exactly.
that's what I think. That everything is made up, and we can use everything as tools to take us closer to the
Mm.
thing that we've forgotten that we are.
Exactly. Is that right? I mean, I find that to be true as well for myself. There's certain things, oh, this feels good for me. I don't know if I'm going too woo-woo here. It doesn't matter. Right now, this is what I need. But it's coming from a place of groundedness, regardless of how woo-woo might seem in the outside world or to the outside world. I know that this is what I require right now. It could be for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, and maybe this is it. I'll outgrow it. Like I've outgrown so much, right? In the past, and that's fine. That's fine. I think
Mm.
what I don't know if the word is bothering. I don't know if that's the word, because in truth of what it bothers me, this cult, this cult sayings, and or I say that when you are seeking, others are seeking you too. So that is maybe as well the darker aspect of humanity, right? Um, but certainly is not a gimmick. Certainly is not a performance. Certainly, this is not a shortcut to avoid pain. This is not about me being better than you or greater than you. This is not a rigid belief. If anything, we keep evolving. So that's why I'm very curious and I'm very excited as well to have maybe a conversation a year's time to say, hey, what has it evolved? Or how has it evolved since we had this conversation in May 2025, right? It's not always about peace and calm, right? It's about really having the courage. It's quite a courageous path as well, right?
Yeah, I would say that you have to
Very
be brave.
courageous path.
You have to be brave to go deep and see those wounds that are so deep. And my, one of my friends say that freedom is not for everyone, because you have to be really brave to pursue that freedom, which is to be free from the jail that the ego puts you in, right?
Mm, yeah. I feel as if we're coming to a close.
Mm. Yeah,
Do you
probably
feel
spoken
the same?
enough.
Is there
Well,
anything that you feel you wanted to share? Or
yeah, there is something. I don't know what it
okay,
is. What is it?
what is it?
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned the word dissolve, or I just heard it in my head, but I think the true mystic, what it does is to dissolve those layers of ego. That's what it does.
Mm,
It kills it lovingly and returns to the silence of the mind without the chatter, um, constant blah 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 of that ego mind.
mm.
That's what true spirituality is right now in this moment
For
for me.
you, right? Mm, yeah, yeah, mm,
And
yeah.
it's not easy.
It's not easy. Exactly. It's not easy. Look at, I mean, if you listen to the episode, the last episode, I mean,
Oh,
that was
please
like,
listen to it. That
that
was
was,
hilarious.
that was hilarious. I mean, what, I mean,
Yeah,
hello.
that was hilarious. The made up stories. And the ego, yeah, it's always making up stories, and it search for perfection. Everything has to be perfect or in a certain way. It believes in moral things. It believes in unconditional love, in accepting everything. And all that, they're all made up concept. Everything, absolutely everything that you believe in is made up.
Mm,
So just letting everything go is not easy because we've been conditioned so much.
mm, mm. Yeah. Anything else that you feel you want to share?
That's it.
Excellent.
Actually, yeah. One,
Yes.
one, one more thing.
Yeah.
I think this also comes from New Age, and this it did for me, or from the personal development. Personal development says it all. Personal development, develop the personal, the ego. We're not here to make the ego better. So if we go into a practice to improve two little things of the ego, and that's it, I'm a bit happier now. That's not spirituality either. We're not here to develop the ego. We're here to kill it, to actually kill it so we can be the true self that we are.
Tell us a bit more about this concept of killing the ego, because I mean, in the past, I understand, but because what kind of, again, ego are we wanting to quote unquote kill here, or remove, or dissolve? Um,
Mhm.
because again, we're not talking about that ego that,
No, exactly.
what is it we're talking about, because it can be confusing.
I understand that there are three types of mind. The mind that you use on the day-to-day things. Okay, well, I need to go and buy bread and eggs, and then I need to put petrol in the car, blah, blah, blah. You need that to navigate into the world. There's another type of mind that is very useful, which is the discerning mind. This is good for me, this is not. I want this, this I don't want. And that's okay. The problem is when we get involved into the third type of mind that tells you stories about your past, about your future, about your present, everything that takes you out of the now, what you are doing here right now. I'm just doing my podcast. If I start thinking about what I'm going to do next, I'm out of here. I'm out of the moment and I'm listening to you. I'm not listening what information comes through me. That's the mind that is actually not good for you because it's the made up mind. We created it to protect ourselves. So we were little and someone came or something happened to you one day and suddenly you realized you were alone in the world. You were separate from the mother figure. And that wound started creating the ego to protect you. And we started believing that, oh, my mother abandoned me, or I'm the one who's abandoned, whatever. You made up a story about that first time. And then the ego starts to appear, that false personality that is not real. The other mind is real, it's part of you, it's part of the body, but that is not. So that is what we've been building up over the years to accommodate every situation that appears in the world. We're not comfortable, or if I'm myself, I'm going to be rejected like I was when I was little. So that's the ego that we need to dissolve. Maybe kill is a very stronger word, because I don't know if you're gonna kill it or not. I haven't killed mine, so I have no idea. But dissolve it little by little with love. I believe we can. So that the present is not as strong, or at least you know it's there. You're aware and conscious that the ego is there. But the main thing is that we know when is the ego talking, and not, don't do what it says all the time, because sometimes it wants to protect us, but it doesn't really.
Mm.
It doesn't. If it
Mm.
tells me, oh, you don't want to do a podcast because you know what happens when you speak. You're gonna get nervous and you're gonna start saying things that are not true or whatever. I don't know what the ego tells people. You're not good enough. You're not gonna know how to do this. Be careful. They want to protect you, but it prevents you from doing things.
Mm.
So that's the voice that we want to
Yeah.
quiet.
Because some people might call that something else, right? So there's a reason
Mhm.
I've asked you that question. So that's why, I thought would be helpful to find, to create that distinction. And for example, if we go back to the podcast of last episode, that was the ego doing its thing,
Mhm.
so the ability to see it, number one,
Mm.
and laugh it off.
Yeah.
Say, hey, do you know what was I fucking thinking here? I'm swearing a lot today, right? I've just noticed.
That's okay. Sometimes I do it. I haven't today, actually. Mhm.
And I remember how many times have I been, I've trained so many people, like in the thousands right now. And how many times the moment that the ego takes over, I'll freak out. I would freak out. You're not good enough. What are you doing there? Who do you think you are? You shouldn't be teaching or sharing or doing what you're doing. You don't have the authority to whatever. And then I'll have to stop and okay, let's go for a break. I'll have to call a break in.
Have a word with my ego.
Let me have a word with my ego. I was like, what's going on here? It's like, let's, you know. And so yeah, I resonate with that. And that for me is that unhelpful part of self that you also call ego, right? The one that which I witness it, I see it, I say, hello, what do you want? What do you need? Do you need anything? So we become lunatic sometimes, having these conversations with oneself.
Yeah, I have both meetings with mine and all the energies that are with me.
Oh my
Because sometimes we have, energies in our bodies that we're not aware of. So I have both meetings with them and I tell them, listen, stop telling me this because it's not true.
yeah
And it's quite funny. Yeah,
yeah
quite crazy. But it
yeah
works.
it works, that's it works.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else, Gemma?
Okay, I'm done.
Are you sure?
No,
No, okay.
no, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I could keep talking, but that's gonna be too long.
Perfect. Anyway, so yeah, because it's quite a big topic, right? And
It's a big topic.
it's a
It's
big
a big topic
topic.
because I mean it's as big as the ego because we don't realize how big the ego is even when we are thinking, oh well, I've done quite well because I can now meditate for 30 minutes and last month I could only meditate for 15 minutes. That's the ego comparing itself. That's the ego and we believe it's not. So
Mm,
it's as big as it's a big issue. Yeah.
yeah,
I will keep talking about it in the future uh,
yeah.
episode. So
Yeah. I'm sure because ultimately it shows through us, right?
yeah.
I've gone through a stage where I needed to prove that, look how spiritual I am, people.
Yes, looks how
You know,
important I am. I'm so important, and now I'm spiritual.
how
Hey,
spiritual I am. So I needed that, but I needed the validation of others rather than my own validation,
exactly.
So until you're like, you don't need any of this, spirit speak through you anyways, once you allow it. Anyways, okay, so let's wrap up because again, yeah, we're gonna continue and carry on. So ladies and the gents, because Gemma, did you know that some gents also listen to this podcast?
I do. I was saying that the other day in one of my Spanish podcasts as well. That men also listen to them.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay.
So
That's
welcome,
okay.
Jen. Hello, brothers. I hope you
Hello.
enjoyed this conversation. Please do reach out and share your feedback. If you have any questions, this is the ego you see right now. If you have any question for us, because we are the experts here, right?
We didn't even know how to describe spirituality, but hey, and that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Share your feedback, your thoughts, anything you want to
Please
share
do.
with us. We'll be delighted to. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Bye bye.